Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another scene for the living world of darkness, rage across New York, wherein mistakes are going to be made. So, it is the unholy early hours of the morning when 10 Point returns to the cabin, comes wandering in, having done her early morning twilight song, and having packed away her violin, will just let herself into the cabin, autopilot her way down the hall, and just kind of ease herself quietly into Aiden's room with all the lights out and a quiet settled over the cabin. She's not looking to wake anyone, and so yeah, the Pack Omega will come seeking her normal sleeping spot, which at this point means carefully, gingerly navigating Aiden's room in the pitch dark and kind of trying to just gingerly, carefully slink herself into the bed without waking Haraya.
It's pretty easy. I mean, he's fucking fast asleep. Fast asleep.
And yeah, she'll slip in. Of course, she always keeps a layer of clothing on, but nonetheless slides into the bed and kind of carefully squirms her way over. Will probably even, especially if he's not responsive, will kind of slip under his arm because that is the good spot.
Oh, snoring, sleepiness. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? It's early in the fucking morning.
It is. It's unholy early. So yeah, she'll nestle in, come to rest up against Haraya, and yeah, even go so far as to lift his arm over her, kind of nestle into the warmth, because we all know about that warm pocket a person creates, like when they get nestled in bed and have been sleeping for a while. They're just like little radiators. So yeah, she nestles up and normally might nuzzle under his chin or something to sleep, but at this point is still a little bit awake. Not quite at such a point as that she's going to immediately pass out. And so she just kind of props her head on the pillow and finds herself nose to nose with Araya. And she'll lay there for not too terribly long, just kind of considering his sleeping features, where he's just so much at peace. And even a very gentle touch across his mind would hopefully likewise find him at peace. And maybe snoring ever so slightly. She'll the lovely thing about deeply sleeping people is that you can usually give them just a little nudge or a little guide, or say, even outright just say you're snoring, and they'll roll onto their side or something. So yeah, let's say he's laying on his back and she kind of gives him that little nudge, that little prompt to get him to roll onto his side, wherein he's not quite so likely to snore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he just rolls.
And we'll say that's what puts her nose to nose and provokes a certain level of temptation. And Aiden's had it rough lately. 10 Point's had it rough lately. Both of them are flagging really low on willpower. And as has been pre-rolled and prompted the scene, 10 Point botches magnificently. And as such, she's sitting there, or laying there, I should say, cheek on the pillow. He rolls around to put them nose to nose. She's close enough to be practically exchanging breaths with him for a couple beats. And, before she's made a tentative attempt and had to abandon it halfway through. But No, the urge just crawls up and just kind of snaps into the back of her head, and before she knows it, 10 Point just kind of, lunging is such a harsh word. Not terribly inaccurate, but just so harsh. Yeah, 10 Point, after little more than a moment or two of being that close and being confronted with that great a temptation, she just kind of presses in and does something she's been trying really hard not to think about for a while. And yeah, it's not a tentative little peck on the lips. Uh, she kind of takes a hold of his shoulder and eases him a little closer, and yeah, she goes for the full-on, very heavy kiss right on the poor sleeping guy's lips.
I'm gonna say maybe about 20 seconds. Aiden himself is having a nice dream about nice things. Barbecues, food, beer, dancing women with sturdy hips, all those nice things. Then he feels something touch his lips in a way that like Darcy and Sheila would do, but he's kind of like, what? And his eyes snap open, and it's 10 Point. And his immediate reaction is literally the picture. He kind of rolls himself back and it touches his face, and kind of scrambles a bit in sheer like, what the fuck is this thing in there? Oh, he's kissing me. Oh, what the fuck?
Oh god. Yeah, and thankfully the flailing will break the magic of the moment and the very, very brief but very strong impulse, at which point he may be pulling back and flailing a little. 10 Point does much the same, suddenly hit by the inevitable realization that she just did the thing. She just did a bad thing. She just did. Oh, guy, help her. Yeah, as he kind of flails back and is trying to orient himself, 10 Point actually just kind of starts a mad scramble back and proceeds to teeter right off the side of the bed.
Yeah, Aiden rolls almost like in combat, looking for his bat. He just picks it up, defensively. And will kind of immediately dart over towards the light is, moving quite quickly, even like doing a combat roll. Because he didn't know what the fuck's happening. And then we'll switch on the light and see 10 Point lying there.
Oh yeah, she kind of flops over. For all I know, she brings like half the blankets with her. And at this point has very wide eyes and a hand kind of clasped over the lower part of her face, just mouth, chin, the whole thing. Just in kind of shock.
What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that?
And she starts kind of curling up because let's face it, he's agitated and upright and he's got the club.
You have exactly 20 seconds to explain to me what the fuck was that, or I will break open that skull of yours. Do you hear me?
There's a very, very tiny nod. Though she gives a squirm back that, depending on how far his bed is off the floor, like, I mean, I don't expect her to entirely go beneath it. She's a full-grown adult. That's not really how that works.
Oh, yeah.
But she kind of, like, nudges back to the point where she's, like, kind of lodged. I'm sorry.
You're sorry. You're sorry.
And by that point, she's probably gotten kind of wet around the eyes and just starts shaking her head a bit, legs and arms pulling in.
Because that to me just looked like you tried to do something which involves breaking one of our most sacred laws. 10 point. Not only is that breaking the first, not only is it with another guru, you picked me, who was married, and thought that I would reciprocate some weird tentative dream. What the fuck are you doing?
I don't know, Raya.
You don't know. The battle grip is tighter. She'll take a step forward. 10 point, there are boundaries.
I know, Raya.
You cannot do that. In fact, what the fuck were you thinking? And I want to know, and if you lie to me, I will drag you in front of the true catcher myself.
I wasn't thinking clearly, Raya.
Thinking clearly. And what made your mind so addled that you couldn't think clearly? Takes another step forward.
She shrinks into a slightly smaller ball with each step. Right. You were just very close. And I've felt it off of you and off of Dallas. And I don't know.
So it's my fault.
No,
It's you
Raya.
trying. And felt it off of Dallas. His eyes narrow, and the bat begins to fall down, looking like he's gearing up to hit. I'd tell me a lot more than this, 10 point. Because not only have you dishonored me, you've dishonored my wife. And the vow we made. Or at least it attempted to. In fact, you've dishonored the one thing that I sacrificed.
I know, Raya. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. I just remembered what I've felt from you and what I've felt from her, and I care so much, and it seems like that's where it goes, Raya. And I just wanted to feel that way.
So you acted on impulse. Passion.
There's a tiny nod, and she continues to kind of cringe. Like, she's gotten about as small as she can, and at this point she just kind of cringes.
All that progress. And you're no better than those fools out there.
am sorry.
What did Dallas show you? Made you so addled.
It wasn't her fault, Raya.
I want to know. I want to know what the fuck is going on. Because I didn't give you notions for you to come and do what you did.
No, Raya.
You'll start to pace. Have you done this with Jacob?
It kind of snaps her a little bit. She stops cringing and kind of shoots a glance up. Ryan, no.
Well, how am I supposed to know?
No. Not ever.
You seem so eager to defend him.
No, Raya. That was before I knew better. And it was never like that. I don't care about it. Not like that.
I see.
Not nearly so much, Raya.
I put faith in you. And this is how you show me it.
She again, very anxiously, very quickly, begins shaking her head. No, Raya, this...
Now, I also understand some Hamids born out of this nation and brought into it have difficulty understanding. But you were born into this world. And Libor Scepter know what you did. I should drag you by those fucking antlers out to that true catcher now and have him deal with you.
And she'll start spilling over with tears. Breath kind of hiccuping periodically.
But I'm not going to do that. If you ever attempt to dishonor me or my wife again,
never, Raya.
I will drag you out in front of that true catcher and I will make sure, like Forlorn, you hang there. And you know what you've done. Do you understand me?
And she'll be biting very sharply into her lip as she nods emphatically.
Now I want you to make some form of atonement to my wife for insulting her honor. You don't tell her what it's for, but you do it. Do you understand?
Yes, Raya.
And if Dallas decides to show you her fucking sexual orientations, you take it as her idiocy.
It wasn't like that, Raya.
Oh, I'll be having words with Dallas. In fact, I'll be having words with Banshee. Maybe it's time.
Please don't blame her, Raya.
I'm not blaming anyone. This is all our fault.
It's not her fault, Raya.
It's her fault as much as it's yours, as much as it's mine. As much as it's Banshee's. We're meant to save you from the world, not give you the tools to fucking do it. I think it's time this pack had new leadership. If this... He gets right in her face.
She cringes back to the point that she kind of clacks the back of her head against the bed frame.
If this is what it's producing, I do not accept your apology. Prove it to me. Or otherwise, you're just another menace.
I'm sorry, Rhea.
Think of the wounds you just caused and dwell on them. Let it fester. So you know that next time you feel that fucking passion that our tribe is so good for but so bad for, he'll grab him by the throat. The next time you try to jeopardize yourself for some inane passion to break one of our sacred laws, remember this feeling. Remember how I can get rid of you. And I will cast you aside no matter how much it hurts me to do it. I will. And see how that dagger you've just placed in my side feels. 10 point.
For once, she actually, when she reaches up and kind of grabs at his wrist, it's not weak. It's definitely like a good tight grasp. It's desperate, and there's pressure as if she's trying to pull it off of her throat. She does not have the comparative muscle to overwhelm him, and she is hardly in a strong state of mind at the moment, but the attempt is made. She gives a really earnestly what amounts to kind of a pathetic squirm. And if she can get enough pressure off of her throat to speak, well, just kind of start babbling. And as she pulls and earns herself just a little leeway, it just kind of pours out of her thoughtlessly, not even really in proper phrasing her sentences. Just I didn't know what to do, and nobody makes me happy. Ryan, nobody cares about me except you, and I didn't know what to do.
You could have talked to us. We're your family. But no, you didn't.
I didn't plan it, Raya. I didn't think about it. There was nothing to talk about. I didn't know what to do.
You reacted on impulse. And that mistake has cut into me so fucking deeply, 10 point. You could have sat down and talked to me and asked me, how does it feel? How do you manage? You could have asked. You could have sat there and talked. Maybe this is the reason why you're still a fucking Cleath, 10 point.
I didn't know. I've never...
You could have sat there and asked us. You could have sat there and asked me. But no, you didn't. There are many avenues you could have went down, but you chose the one thing that damns our people so fucking much. The one thing that made you passion and misdirected passion.
I just wanted to feel loved, Rhea.
You are. But not in that way. Never in that way.
I don't know the ways, Rhea.
Well, maybe you should fucking ask. Maybe you should have the confidence to come to us and talk to us. But you didn't. There is a line between love for family and love for another that way. Like I love Sheila. Like I loved her. There is a clear and well-defined line. And what you've just done brings a massive dishonor to me and to my wife. And the bond we made.
I'm sorry, Rhea.
Get under that porch and do not come out. Don't come into this room until you've atoned. You do your duties, you do your pack. You're still in this pack. And you're still my sister. But do not presume to come into my room or look for comfort from me for a very, very long time.
I think there's another weak little nod. Her fingers are still kind of digging at his hand and at his wrist.
You twitch a bit. I expected Dallas to be the one I had to talk to about defined lines, not you.
I have never even seen this line before.
That's why I haven't dragged you in front of the truth catcher. That's why I haven't dragged you out there and beaten you to an inch of your life. Even though, God, Jesus.
I wish you would, Ryan.
You don't deserve that. You let what you did fester. Let that knife you just stuck in my side fester. You don't deserve punishment because you'll fucking regenerate. You let it fucking sink in what you've done. And the next time you feel that little temptation of the worm calling you, you remember what'll happen.
And she just kind of dissolves back into hiccups, nodding again weakly.
Now get out of my sight.
Now I'll assume at that point he either lets go or like flings her or what have you.
He flings her quite aggressively against the door.
And yeah, she takes all of the second or two necessary after being bodily flung to get her feet back under her, and very rapidly actually flees the room. Doesn't even close the door behind her, just flicks it open and bolts down the hallway, bare feet like pattering, and slams her way out the front door. And by the time she's hit the porch, he can tell by the difference in weight between her earlier steps and her later ones that she's reverted as she emerged to breed. And he'll hear her thump her way down the steps and probably even a bit of a scramble as she quickly tries to reverse momentum and hides herself under the porch.
And Aiden will look in the mirror at himself, let out a deep sigh and punch 2 or 3 cracks into it, and will begin to blame himself for not being clear on the lines that he should have given 10 Point. It's his responsibility. And he will punch himself harder until he does some, like, about 3 levels of bashing to his hand, and he will just sit down on the bed and just stare out the window, like, very hurt. And very, very hurt.
Yeah, meanwhile, 10 Point will probably collapse as soon as she gets under the porch. Depending on whether he is completely walled off or not, is whether or not she gets any of that. And she will just kind of dissolve into a puddle of misery and self-hatred.
Yeah.
And with that poetic ending, I think we should leave these two alone. So thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And we'll see you next time that I roll a botch in the living world of darkness, Rage Across New York.